We'll try display. Okay, again, can't get to anything else on it. I can bring up the property sheet, but I can't do anything with it. Crazy. So the only option we have at this point is to press the power button. Now, when we press the power button, we're going to lose seeing this, but just bear with me because it'll come back up. I've seen this happen when Windows is trying to do updates. It will not let you into any of the new controls, but we don't have a network connection. So we're going to repower, bring it back up, hit the power button, go over to the camera, we'll repower, bring it back up. You'll see the lights, power, battery, hard drive LED, comes back up pretty quick. Once we're back in Windows, then we'll switch back over. That's one thing I hope that we're helping you with. If you have a problem with a computer, please let us know. We'd like to hear from you. If you have a problem with this computer, give us a comment on the video so we can help you with it. Sometimes two heads are better than one. But this is how we solve this problem. All I'm doing is checking the property sheet to make sure it comes up and I can get to where I'm trying to go. It's working. So I'll switch input back over to the HDMI so you can see directly what I'm doing. I'm just testing. Okay, we're back on HDMI. So we have the recycle bin, and my goal is I want the other icons on the desktop because everything else I'm going to do will be from the control panel. So now we should be able to right click, personalize. We're going to go to themes, then we're going to go to desktop icons, and then we're going to select all those desktop icons because they have added functionality. So you can see where I'm at. Computer, user files, recycle bin, control panel, network. We're going to say OK. I'll zoom back out. Now that we have all those icons, those are double click. And I'm going to turn this into single click because for me, well, it's just more convenient. It's faster. The first thing I'll do is change category from this view to large icons. Category, large icons. And we're going to go to File Explorer options. We'll move over to that property sheet. It's over here to the left. Now then, we're going to change this to single click. So now when we click on that, it'll be like a web page. I don't care for the double click. So we've gone from double click to single click. Think of it this way, you're using the mouse half as much. And granted, this mouse has switches that can be changed out, which is pretty wild. I guess that's why it's such an expensive mouse by itself. It's feature rich. Okay, now the next change we're going to make, and this is the old style control panel. The new control panel is the Windows settings. So we're in control panel. We're going to go to internet options, bring up that property sheet. Okay, the Hello application from ASUS has popped up. Since we don't have a network connection, it wants us to create an account. And that will pair that account with the McAfee account and register us as a user. We'll come back to that a little bit later. Now this is something I normally change for the home page, but that's if I were going to use one of the Microsoft browsers. I'm not. That's one of the first things we're going to do is change the browser. So we're not using what's on this computer. And I have a favorite site I like to go to. But I'm here for one reason. We're going to go to connections. And from connections, we'll go to the bottom, we'll go click on LAN settings, and we're going to remove that check mark, automatically detect. I don't want them trying to figure anything out, I just want it to go. A lot of times when a computer hangs and it can't get on the internet, if you'll change this, this will solve your problem. Now, this is also one of the places whenever Microsoft updates, they put that back. You have to go check it. Microsoft also blows the network out. You have to go back and check it. So that's for automatic configuration. We don't want automatic configuration. We don't want it to just go. So we're going to say OK. We'll go OK from here. That sees the user. Hello, Gil Boyd. Welcome to ASUS Computer. It takes a few minutes for us to help you with several important settings. Get started. We create an account, and I'd forgotten at this point I already have an account. I had to go find the password for it. But notice it'll show the serial number and the product name, Strix 17 GL703 GE. So put in your name, put in your ASUS email account, and your password. And I'd had an ASUS account from 3 years ago that I'd forgotten about, back with the ASUS Zen. So we're going to have to kick that loose for right now. Okay, so we have our desktop icons. I'm going to create a document because when I'm working on a computer, I will create a notepad document where I keep notes specific to that computer. And I'll also give it the name of the document, which I'll also use as the name of the computer. So this is ASUS ROG, probably ASUS ROG 703. And I'll give it a date according to the date that I start. And what I'll do with this document is I'll put information specific with IP configuration information and that kind of stuff. Email address, so that way it's a cut and paste. I'm not typing it in every time. Then what I'll do is put a shortcut on the desktop to this application that makes it easy for me to call it up. And I'll try to keep my desktop clutter to a minimum. So ASUS ROG 703, we'll give it a date, and I'll put that same title inside the file. Then I'll date mark it. So I'm copying the name out, open it up, Control V, enter, function F5. We have a date mark, so I know when I did this. First thing I'll do is put in an email address, so that way it's easy to cut and paste. And as far as bloatware, I don't have a problem with what's on the system. There's not a lot of bloatware that's there. I'm okay with everything that ASUS has. There's some Microsoft stuff that should be uninstalled. For example, I don't care for the OneDrive, but that's just my opinion. I like local storage. So again, I can find ASUS Hello on the Start menu. So we'll quit that application and come back to it later once we have an internet connection. It won't save the information unless you can get online. Okay, we're going to do a right click now and drag a shortcut to the desktop. Then I'm going to right click on the first thing I'll do is on the shortcut. It says shortcut. I want to delete that word shortcut. That's an annoying habit Microsoft has. Supposedly after you do 2 of those in a row, the third one it won't do it. Until next time. So I'll delete the word shortcut. Now I'm going to right click, Properties. We're going to set a keyboard shortcut. I'll use Control-Shift-8. Anytime I need that document, I use Control-Shift-8 and there it is. Okay, so much for that. That's just one of those little things I do. Call it a quirk. Now, the next thing we want to do might be the network. We can't configure the network until we're plugged into a network. But when we plug in, then Microsoft is going to start doing the updates. The problem with that is if we decide to go into the BIOS. So we're going to go to System. Let's go to About. Let's see what we've got. We're looking at the name of the computer. Now this is the new way to rename the computer. This is not the old way we used to do it, but this is easy. So it shows the name of the device, and I always like to have the name on the computer, something to me that's relevant, that's easy to understand, something that I can relate to compared to other computers on the network. So we're going to rename it. We're going to give it the new name, which will be ASUS ROG 703, and I need to put some dashes in there so the name has continuity. And we'll say Next. Now, it's going to want to reboot the computer. We're not going to do that right now. So we'll say Next. We'll restart later. Okay, that's going to be the new name of the computer, ASUS ROG 703. That's what we'll see on the network. Now, we can also see our Windows specs. We're running Windows 10 1709, and this is build 16299.15. And it will update once we go online. And once we go online, not only you've got a lot of things going on. Windows will update, Windows will activate, and then the Hello application will work. So there's lots of stuff going on. And then we can also set the network up. And we can see the specs. We've got an i7-8750, which is 6 cores, 16 gigs of RAM. There's 1 stick of memory in there. The other part will run Belarc Advisor in a few minutes so we can interrogate the machine and see exactly what's there. Belarc can only tell us what's there. It cannot tell us, for example, how the motherboard's designed. There's things we have to look for. Okay. What we need to do first of all for the network, and I'm going to show you some of the tricks. This McAfee stuff, first of all, I'm going to get rid of the OneDrive later. I'll get rid of McAfee later as well. But we're going to go to the Windows features. We're going to scroll down. And this is something you have to look for and you have to check because Microsoft will turn this off. You've got 15 days to set this up. So we're going to do it now. We're going to go to SMB, and this is for the file sharing. Automatic removal is set and the client is set. I just want to show you where it's at and where you'll have to go look for it. If you do not set it now, in 15 days it would automatically remove the client and then the file sharing doesn't work. And if you network computers on your private network, and that's what we're dealing with. We're not talking about a public network. We're talking about your private network. If you share files back and forth, that's where you need to check that. And that's where you need to set it. That's where you need to reinstall it. So that's the first thing to check. Now the next thing we need to do is we're going to set our share. We'll go to this PC. We're going to go to the C drive. And if you notice, we have 2 drives in here, a C drive and a data drive. So I think what we'll do first of all is set our folders where we're going to do our downloads. And I'll also show you how to change the default storage location. So we'll go to C, Users. We're going to right click. We can see what public's got. I'm going to put a couple of shortcuts, and this is again one of the quirks I like. Right click and drag public to downloads. Create a shortcut. We're going to go into public, and we're going to right click and drag public downloads into downloads. Create a shortcut. Okay, we have 2 shortcuts in there. Again, I'm going to delete the word shortcut on both of those. So function F2, delete that word, back it up, press enter. Function F2, delete the word, back up, enter. And I'm going to create a third link because these are on the C drive. Users, public downloads. So we're going to go back to the C, we'll go to the data drive. We're going to create a folder because we can't share the root of a drive, but we can share a folder on a drive. So we're going to go to the data drive. We're going to right click and create a folder. I call it incoming. It's a standard thing that I use on the computers so I know where I'm at and what I'm doing. I download one time and go to different computers to pull the file across the network. So we're going to create a folder, right click, new folder. I'm going to call it incoming, and within that folder, because that's the folder I'll share, I'll create subfolders, applications, PDF files, drivers, that sort of thing. We'll set the first folder applications. So any applications I download, that's where they'll go. We'll create another folder, PDF files, and let's do the one for drivers. And there may be others I put, but those are the three main ones I use. Okay, now we're going to right click on this folder, incoming. We're going to drag it to downloads, go back to the folder, right click, drag. Okay, create a shortcut. Let's go look under downloads. Yep, let's delete the word shortcut. Function F2, delete, back, enter. Now when we click on that downloads and click on incoming, it automatically takes us over to that drive. There will still be applications that go to C drive. No matter what you do, you have no control over. Okay, we have incoming, which is on the D drive, public downloads, and downloads, which is on the C drive. Good looking screen, good looking keyboard. Functionality is great. The lights we'll get to. Priorities. From my perspective, networking is a priority. All simple and straightforward stuff. Okay, for the network, what I want to do is bring up the Windows flag E. I'm going to click on this PC. I'm going to go to the data drive, and we're going to share. And if you notice, Windows 10 is upgraded and put a folder on here. Okay, we're going to right click on incoming. That's the folder we're going to share. We're going to click on properties. We're going to go to sharing. Now I've already got this shared, but I'm going to show you what has to be done. Now this is for the default user. You may want to set this up a different way. If you're on other networks, you set up your shares according to the network you're on. But on my home network, where I'm the only one on the computers and I'm passing files back and forth and doing the stuff I do, and I've got multi-gigabytes worth of information, what I want to do is go into choose the people to share with. And what you want to add is everyone, and you set everyone to have a read-write, which is what's there, and then you say share, which is what I've got. Then I also go into advanced sharing. The folder name is incoming, and again I set my permissions, everyone, and if everyone's not there, you add, and you have to add everyone from here. And what you would do, sometimes this is there and sometimes it goes away, but I'm showing you how to find it if it does. And so what we're looking for, okay, we're looking at incoming. We're going to right click, we're going to set this both places. We're going to go to sharing, and we're going to look at the advanced sharing and the regular sharing. Now what we're looking for is to make sure everyone is there. You'll click on the down arrow, select everyone, and this is again for your home network. So networking will work. Everyone, and give them read write and then say share. I've already got it set. I'll do the same thing under advanced. I've used the folder name incoming, and then I set the permissions, and again everyone, and if I needed to add, I'd go find everyone, but everyone's already there, and I make sure they've got full control, and then I say okay. Now I've got my sharing set, so when I look at this on the network, I see two laptops. I see the ASUS ROG 703 and this other laptop, the 8550, that's the HP Envy 17T. Now, no matter what I do with these names, because there's a third place we have to go, and I'm going to back out of this and show you, we have to make sure that all the shares are open. So down here in the bottom right hand corner, we're going to look for the network. And if you notice where it says network access, I'm going to click on this, or I can right click. I get the same thing. If I click on it, I'm looking for network and internet settings. If I right click on it, I want to open network and internet settings. That property sheet pops up. We zoom back out. We select the network we're on, which is Ethernet. We're going to change advanced sharing options. Now there's 3 different places in here to set all this stuff. You have to set them all 3, and you have to say OK after each step. The first section, private, turn network discovery on, turn automatic setup of network connections, turn on file and printer sharing. That's already set. If it wasn't, I would set it, and then I would save changes. I would come back, I would go to the second section, bring that up, and I'll go to guest or public. When network discovery is on, this computer can see other network computers and devices and is visible to other network computers. That's what I want. Again, I turn these 2 on, and I would go down here to save. And it'll close this box, and I come back to the third section, all networks. And all networks is probably the most important because, again, public folder sharing. When public folder sharing is on, people on the network, and again, this is a wired network, my home network. Forget about home groups because home groups goes away. Can access files in the public folder. So I want to turn on sharing so anyone with network access can read and write files in the public folders. Folks, I'm behind 2 routers. Even if you're only behind 1 router, your router is the most important computer you have. And that's where you do your networking from, and that's where you do your administration from. So when you open this stuff up, only you should be able to use your stuff. Now, when you go somewhere else, to another router, to another location, especially Wi-Fi, you want all this stuff shut off. But on your home network, if you got your defenses up, and again, I don't have my security settings set, all I had was the default from McAfee. I will uninstall McAfee. I don't care for it, and I will put Kaspersky on. I'm not worried about the Russians, and I'm not worried about the CIA. And down here at the bottom, the last thing I'll do, let me scroll over here just a little bit so we can see this. Turn off password protected sharing. I want to be able to look into that computer as if it's my local hard drive and save changes, which is grayed out right now. I've got that already set just to cut to the chase. Now, when Microsoft updates Windows, everything I've shown you will get blown out. Everything has to be reset. You have to check it. Even after you set this, sometimes you may see a computer and you may not. For example, if I do the Windows flag E for Explorer, I click on Network. See, I see these two computers. What I would suggest, I could right-click and drag a shortcut to the desktop, but what I would suggest, especially if you move around to other networks, create like a folder on your desktop, and then put those shortcuts within that folder and name it according to either the network or the router you're on. Now, these are according to name, so I can get into these computers by name. But what if for some reason I couldn't get into it by name? I need to know what the IP address is. So what I would want to do is my little special document that I've got up, I would take and put the IP address for that computer in this folder so that I could then take and create a shortcut by that IP address, and so I would immediately always get into that computer whether I see it in the network shares or not. As an example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the other computer, which is the HP Envy, and I'll show you what I mean. Let's go to computer number 2. Now, when I bring this up with the Windows flag E on the network, I see 3 computers on this network. I should see 4. The 4th computer I don't see. For some reason, it's not letting me. So what I did, I closed that down, and right here on the desktop, I know what that IP address is. That's 192.168.10.83. So I created that shortcut, and the way I did it, again, I brought up my document, so I know what the IP address is. So with a whip in front of it, Control Copy, I'll bring up the Windows flag E key, and then from this window, I'll do Control V, press Enter, and that computer pops right up. So then what I want to do is from the desktop, I'll put this over to one side. Up here in the bar, I'll right-click and drag and create a shortcut. So when I close this window, when I click on that shortcut, I'm right back into that computer. And that is the ASUS Republic of Gamers 703. I have the default share, which is users, and that puts me on the C drive. And then I have the incoming folder, which is on the D drive. Now, if you'll do that shortcut, now that's management you need to set from your router, and think about that, because remember, your most important computer on the network is your router. So you want to do a DHCP reservation, and for example, like me, I may be on one router one time, at a different router another time. So what I'll do is go into the router, see what the IP is, or I can on this computer find out what the IP is, so I can share it with the other computer, create a shortcut, and I'm in. So I hope this gives you some idea about networking. Even though you have to go through all that stuff and set it, create that shortcut so you're not fiddling back and forth. So even if Microsoft turns it off, if your shortcut doesn't work, you know the process 1, 2, 3 to go to be able to fix it. So we'll go back over here to this desktop, and I'm going to go back over to the other computer. Now, if I wanted to know the IP address of that laptop, then what I'll do is I'll go back to that laptop, and the easy way to find it, Windows flag R for run, CMD, and I'll do IP config space / all, enter. And this particular computer, let's go back up. I know the DNS servers, the DHCP, which is the router, and the IP4 address. So I'll go to menu, edit, mark, and then what I'll do is click and drag. And when I press enter, I've copied that. I'll bring up my document, go to the bottom, and now the IP address, that's the IP address I need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and type that in. So let's go back over here, and I want to create a shortcut now to get into that computer. So I know the IP address, so I'm going to type it in over here, 192.168.10.83. Okay, what I need in the front of that is press the home key on the far right side. I need 2 whips, whip, which is a backward slash. And I need to take that information, Control Copy, bring up the Windows flag E key, put my cursor in there, do Control V, press enter. Now I'm into that laptop. So what I want to do, double check it. Okay, that's me. So what I want to do, 8.4. So 8.3, we'll go to 8.4. Now I'm into that laptop, so I can tell the difference. I see the laptop which is a custom set folder. I see users. Now that machine only has one drive, so I've shared the default users public, but I've also shared a folder called laptop. And I also have printer drivers here I can gain access to. Now, what I want to do is create a shortcut. So I will click and drag, and I have a shortcut now to that laptop. And I can also rename it function F2. We'll get rid of the word shortcut. Instead of just having the IP address up there, I will say HP NV17T with a number. And when I want to go to that computer, I'm in it. Just that simple. So, hope that gives you some ideas about networking, how easy it is. Remember that little trick? Hopefully it'll help make things simple for you when you're networking. Okay, now we're going to go back over to our ASUS laptop. Okay, we're going to double check our network connection. When we plug into a new router, we should see on the right-hand side of the screen a blue bar pop up. Sometimes this goes away before you get a chance to answer it, especially if you're doing something else. It takes a few seconds. Now, that's a tight fit for that network. You got to be sure that's plugged in all the way. If that's not plugged in all the way, it will not connect. It is a tight fit, and it's easy to pull it out, but give it a good firm plug. In fact, it unplugs easier than it plugs in, but it is a tight fit. And once it makes connection, then on the right side of the screen, we'll see the blue bar pop up. That shows we're on a new network, a new router, and it sees that according to a new MAC address. Now, this is for networking. Do you want to allow your PC to be discoverable by other PCs and devices on this network? We recommend allowing this on your home and work networks, but not public ones. So for the kind of network we're setting up, a private network, a home network, we're going to say yes. Now, if this goes away and you miss it because you're doing other stuff, there's another place where you can go back in and make a change, and I'll show you that setting from the Windows settings. So we're going to say yes. Now we're up and running. We're on the new network. So we're going to go to Network Internet Access, click Wi-Fi Airplane Mode Mobile Hotspot. We can see the wireless that's available. It shows the network we're now connected. We'll go to Network and Internet Settings. We're looking at Status. That's the first bar. Ethernet Private Network. You're connected to the Internet. Change Connection Properties, or click on Ethernet. We click on Ethernet, shows connected. And if we click on that, this is where we would change it from private to public. We're on private. We want to keep it that way. Now, as we scroll down where it says private, it also shows the IP address of that computer. Now, it's grayed out. We can see it. There's no way to cut and paste, but there it is. So we know the IP address of this computer. And the setting we use for the IP address range is because of the video switch we use. It's the primary device on the network. So we minimize traffic. That stuff is on that router, and it's a private network. So we're going to go to sharing options, and there's 3 different places in here. We're going to change sharing options of different network profiles. There's private, there's guest or public, and all networks. And each time you make a change in any one of these areas, you have to save it and come back in and do this again. We want to make sure network discovery is turned on, automatic, and we want to turn on file and printer sharing. So we turn that on, then we have to go down and save it, and then we come back and do this again. Otherwise, if you try to do all this in one shot, nope, we don't want that. We want sharing options. Now, by default, it always shows the first section. We'll go to the second section, guest or public. And again, we're going to turn on network discovery because we're on a private network. And the third option down here, public folder sharing. We're going to turn on public folder sharing so people on the network, including home group members, which has gone away, can access files in the public folders. And they're only accessing files in the public folders, the folders you've shared. They're not seeing anything else. And we're going to turn off password protected sharing. So we'll go to network, see what's on the network. We see the laptop and we see the name where it hadn't been changed. And of course we changed that. Once we reboot, it'll show up. And that's the HP NV17T. It has an 8550U processor in it. That's a 4-core laptop. This ASUS is a 6-core. More processing power, and also has the NVIDIA Ti. That's the HP, which we've renamed. Once we reboot, it'll show up. There's our folder incoming. I like the screen on this laptop. It's easy to see. Okay, back to networking. Network, Windows cannot access. See, we've got to go back and turn some stuff on. Network Internet Access. Open Network and Internet Settings. We'll go to sharing options and go through the first part. Everything's turned on. We need to go to the second part. Turn on. Okay. Go to the third part. See if we can get into it. Still can't. So we'll go back to the third part. First part, second part, double check. We'll go to the third part, and we need to turn that on so anyone with network access can read and write files in the public folder. And we have password protected turned off. And when we save changes, close that, go back over. We should be able to get into that incoming folder. Part of the problem with that was with McAfee, so we uninstalled McAfee. And I did some research on McAfee trying to find that setting, and McAfee would not acknowledge. All they said that had something to do with Microsoft. So the way I solved that problem was I uninstalled McAfee, and this will let us see the network come back up correctly. Now we went over to a camera because when that reboots, it'll take just a minute, come back into focus. There we go. We get it back up, then we'll go back to HDMI input. Okay, we're going to go to the network and see if we can get into that computer. There's the ASUS ROG 703, and we're in. We can get into the public. We can't get into the incoming. We'll fix that. On the public, that's on the C drive. The incoming is on the D drive. Right-click, Properties, Share, the Advanced Sharing. The folder is incoming. We're going to check the permissions. Everyone's allowed. Okay. Now we're going to go back. That's Advanced Sharing. And let's do the regular share. And this is where we've got to set it. That's why it has to be set both places. Now, Gil Boyd is the owner for permission level. We're going to add everyone. And under everyone, click Add. We're going to say everyone will have read and write. We're going to say Share. And that will now give us access. Your folder is shared. We're definitely not going to send anybody email links to that. And remember, shared items are not accessible if the computer is asleep. That'd be like if you had your laptop plugged into a large screen, like a 4K display. Computer's off, you're not going to see anything. So if the computer's off, the other computer can't see it. All the computers have to be on to be able to share those resources. Okay, so we're into users and we're into incoming. So now everything works. Just that simple. So I've given you some ideas, some things you have to check. And if you'll create that shortcut, put it on your desktop. Just remember to use a whip, which is a // instead of a // you use // IP address. You'll be into that computer. Bookmark that. You can put a shortcut on a menu, like however you like to do things. I put it on the desktop, or you can put it in a folder. So that gives you some ideas how to do networking, how to keep it simple, how to keep track of your stuff. And again, this is for your own private network. This is not a public network. But if you're like me and you have a lot of computers running and you're sharing files back and forth because of whatever you're working on, say one computer does audio, another does video, another one does downloads, and you need to be able to download on one computer and then disperse that stuff to others. This is the way to do that. Make it easy. Keep it simple. Network. The network is good. And that was the key. Just double checking. Networking is a funny thing. If one thing is not there or if one thing is off, nothing works. You've got to know what to check and where to check. Now back to the control panel. Programs and features, Windows features, and again we're going to take a look at where that other setting is at for the SMB. And SMB has been deprecated, so you'll have to remember that. In other words, they've gotten rid of it. This is SMB version 1, and this is what's required though to do the file sharing like we've shown. But be sure and get your security defenses up. We run Spybot Search and Destroy. We also run Malwarebytes, as well as Kaspersky. All three of those play nice with each other. Okay, now we have the computer up and running. We've got the network up and running so we can share files across back and forth. We have our desktop icons. This is all pretty much the standard stuff, plain vanilla stuff. Now what we need to do is go out and do our customization. We're going to use a different browser. We're going to go to a site called Ninite, ninite.com. Any shareware applications you need, this is a great site. It's free. You can do the paid version so you can do multiple computers, but man, you can't beat it. So what we're going to do is pull down our browser, Firefox. We're going to pull down our email client, Thunderbird. I like to keep email local on a computer. We also pull down Spybot Search and Destroy, but remember, if you pull down this Spybot Search and Destroy, you may get an error when Windows reboots. It'll give an error about a problem with Bitdefender. Bitdefender is the antivirus element that you're not paying for that's in Spybot. What you have to do is go back and uninstall it and do a custom install. Well, with everything from Ninite, there's no custom install. It just blows right through the EULA. You just say, this is what I want, download it. It does the download. It's done. So that's the only issue with this one program, Spybot. If you get the error about Bitdefender, that's the problem. It's annoying, but there's easy to fix it. Just uninstall it, re-download it directly from Spybot. Also, I like to pull down Foxit Reader. It's a great PDF printer driver. But right now, I'm just going to get Firefox and Thunderbird. I can come back anytime and get the rest of the stuff, like VLC and all that other good stuff. So I'll scroll down, I'll say get my Ninite. We'll download, we'll run, at the bottom, we'll do a save as, because again, I'm still saving to the default location. So we're going to do a save as, and I'll tell it where to put it, which will be on that other drive. So I click on incoming, I'll go to applications, and now I'll say save. And I'm getting Ninite Firefox Thunderbird installer. So we're going to say save. Now at the bottom it'll tell us you want to run or open the folder. I usually like to open the folder. I like to see what I'm doing. And of course, when I execute this, that Microsoft app will come up and ask me, am I sure I want to do this? I'm going to say yes. That too can be turned off once the defenses are up. Preparing the setup. And again, do you want to allow this app to make changes? We're going to say yes. That's the user account control. And away we go. And I can click on show details and it'll show it's installing. downloading and installing. First Firefox and then Thunderbird. Firefox is installed. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. None of this asking questions about where stuff's going to go. Again, this works for the default. It downloads to the default location. It installs in the default location. So you have to remember that. Even though we're using 2 drives, I always install applications to the C drive. Because even if I try to change the drive, it's going to put stuff elsewhere anyway. Now, as I install an NVMe drive, what I would do would be to take my email client and take that configuration and put it on the other drive, the slower drive. So it's not always hitting that fast drive. But that'd be a separate video. Right now I want us to focus on this laptop. Now you'll have to remember, while we're doing these things, this is also giving us the opportunity to test the computer and see how the computer behaves, see how it performs, see how it functions. Because it's kind of a subliminal thing. When you're working with a keyboard, it's easier to type something on a keyboard than just to click a keyboard and say, I'm not sure if I like it. Now, right now, Firefox is not the default browser. What I like about this is we're going to say do that, and it's going to take us to the property sheet within the new Windows settings that'll let us make this change. And as we make this change, Microsoft is going to say, are you sure you want to do that? And I'm going to say what part of what I said do you not understand. It's highlighted down there, Microsoft Edge. This is the default apps. The mail I'll change. The music player I'll probably change as well. Change the browser from Edge, Firefox, and Internet Explorer is still here on the hard drive. Before you switch, do you want to try it? Switch anyway. On a side note, if you want to see high resolution video, you have to use Microsoft Edge. When I say high resolution, I mean like 4K video. Even 1080 video. That's the only browser that'll do it. The others are showing 720. I hope that changes soon. And that's another reason for having the high-end video that's in here. The NVIDIA 1050 Ti, which according to Netflix is the minimum spec for watching 4K video on Netflix. I'll tell you some more about the display on that in a minute. So we're going to go ahead and switch. We have Firefox set. While we're here, let's go ahead and set our email client, Thunderbird. A lot of people use webmail. And how I know is if someone says I need help with my email, then I ask them, are you using webmail or an email client? I don't know. I just go to this link, this browser. I just do this. That's webmail. Take control of your stuff. Okay, so we bring up our new browser. And I'm going to put Ninite back in the browser. I'm going to go to that URL. Then I'm going to customize the browser with a couple of shortcuts. I need to turn that on. We'll turn on the bookmark toolbar. Right-click, bookmark toolbar. And then we can click and drag, put Ninite in there, because it's something I will use repeatedly. So now that we have Ninite bookmark, close it, call it back up. I can go back to Ninite. I can pull down Malwarebytes, Spybot Search and Destroy, VLC, which is my preferred media player, Audacity. Great program, Audacity, for recording audio. A couple of custom configurations that need to be made. We might make a video about that later. Great program. And of course, Foxit Reader. I like that for PDF files. It also puts a PDF printer driver, which I prefer. The only downside is the PDF files it creates from the printer driver are not searchable with the free version. So we get our Foxit Reader install. And again, we're still working with the default location. Haven't changed it yet. So I'm going to right-click on this, cut. We'll go to Incoming, Applications, right-click and paste. Again, user account control, yes. No ULIT answer, no default questions about where it's going to go. We just say download, install, we're in business. That's simple. If you've never used Ninite, it's a safe place to go. Normally you don't want to download stuff from other places, but Ninite's a good place. You know, for a 17-inch laptop, this is a nice laptop. It's got some weight to it. The screen's a little bright. I was kind of surprised. You can tone it down. I'm also going to show you in a few minutes how to color match it, because by default it's not done, but the ICM file is on the hard drive, and I'll show you how to set it. By default, the screen looks, flesh tones look a little bit red to me, but once you set the color match file, it looks a whole lot better. And there's an ideal viewing angle you'll see when you're looking at stuff, but it is bright, and there's a way to change some of that. ASUS has a special app. Now we're going to go download Belarc. We're going to interrogate the computer because I want to know the specs that are in here.